start again. How do people do this? Let's just start again. No. So this is how I completely changed my approach to my arts. I used to be obsessed with realism and the pursuit of perfect. Over time, I realised this approach was holding me back from really enjoying and growing as an artist. So I quit my pursuit of perfectionism and realism and stopped putting so much pressure on myself to be this perfect artist with all these finished, amazing pieces. And instead, I started focusing on the fun and the joy that art brings me. So let's get into how I did that and how I completely switched my mindset when it comes to drawing and learning and even perfectionism. How's that? How was that? Can we see me? Shh! Shut up! For pretty much since I could hold a pencil, I was trying to get my art as close to reality as I could manage, because that's what I defined as good art. It got to the point that every time I opened my sketchbook, I was trying, and failing mostly, to make good art and finished, polished pieces every single time. Essentially, my sketchbook was a place to create perfect art. And if I made a mistake, I'd despise the whole sketchbook. That's it. In my eyes, it's done. I can't enjoy that sketchbook anymore. I wouldn't complete the piece, and most importantly, I'd learn nothing from it. Because I was too focused on the failure, so I didn't allow myself to learn from it, or just even think of how it could add to the piece. I was so caught up in trying to make the piece look correct and how I saw it in reality. So I wasn't giving myself the space and time to experiment and make fun pieces that actually expressed how I wanted the reality to look, and not just how it looks in boring old everyday. Art had become stressful. Art had become a chore, a pursuit of the non-existent perfection. I was just so frustrated with my skills not translating to what I saw in my head. I guess just over time, I burnt myself out with this outlook of my art. It just wasn't fun. I stopped drawing altogether for like a bunch of years. I'm not even sure how many, just too many. And it got to a point where I almost decided, maybe it's just not for me. Maybe I'll just give up on everything. That's it. I'm gonna quit. But that just was not good enough for me. Drawing had been my closest companion. It had been there since I can remember, like through some of the hardest and some of the best times of my life. So I wasn't gonna let something like that go just as easily as that. And I was determined to get back on track. I decided it was time to rearrange my approach to art and my sketchbook entirely. This is the part where I flipped my sketchbook beliefs on their head. And instead of treating my sketchbook as a place for finished, polished and perfect pieces, I started using it as a tool for exploration and study. Mind blown. I know. Just crazy, crazy philosophy right there. To use a sketchbook, like, to actually learn how to draw and not to create finished pieces like you would on a canvas. Just never dawned on me, apparently. So like at the ripe age of 23, 24, I realised what a sketchbook was for. And with this newfound crazy philosophy, I started letting myself sketch for like the first time ever. Like, really sketch. Actually sketch. Imagine that. I just let go of the pressure to create something that was just finished and polished and perfect. Like, who knew the whole point was to practice? Like, learn and get this. Have fun. Just wild, wild concepts here I'm throwing you. Like, I don't think there's ever been a video about something so life-changing. So I just started experimenting with different styles, new techniques, like random doodles, and just having fun. Like, I even added colour. I was just strictly living my life in black and white arts, like how boring. I even like learnt the fundamentals for fun. I can never imagine a world where I was having fun learning the fundamentals. I think the most important thing that I did was give myself the permission to make mistakes. Like actually allow myself, not just like make some agreement that I can make some mistakes but I can rub them out. No, the rubber was banned, because finally I learned that that is how you learn and just grow as an artist and get better. Honestly, this stuff was mind-blowing to me. It might not sound it, but it was just phenomenal knowledge to finally at the ripe age of 23, 24, 25 come into. Like I know this lighting is not good, but honestly there's nowhere in my flat that has good lighting, so you guys are just gonna have to deal with that at this point. My sketchbook is no longer a place for finished arts. I mean, it shouldn't be anyways, but for some reason I've made it that way. It's now a space to study, try new things, figure out what I like as an artist, figure out what I enjoy drawing, figure out what I hate drawing, figure out what I'm bad at drawing, and do tons and tons of that so I can get better. And you know, sometimes my sketches are messy, sometimes they're just plain awful. Just like rip the page up, but we're not doing that because it's a sketchbook. And we're avoiding hating ourselves for mistakes, so remember that. So there's even very unfinished pieces pretty much every page. That's okay. To make mistakes, to have a sketchbook that looks actually, do you know what, quite ugly, not aesthetic at all. You know what, it's more than okay? It's growth. It's growth. Because I am learning from these mistakes and these unfinished pieces and these experimentations and like all of these little pieces of art that I would have never allowed myself to draw because, oh my gosh, that is so ugly. No, I'm learning from it. And do you know what, the next finished piece that I dare myself to create is going to be 10 times better because of it. I'm doing washing because I need to get on top of my chores, so let's get that done while we talk. It took me a minute to fix my relationship to art. I guess my breakthrough moment was when I started creating this TikTok series that absolutely no one watched, and that's okay because I found it fun. But I started creating this TikTok series called My Ugly Art Challenge. And during this series, I started forcing myself to not use a pencil at times. I wasn't allowed to rub out. If I was using watercolour, it would be like straight on. There wasn't really a plan for anything. It was just, let's get this done. By purposely forcing myself out of my comfort zone and to actually embrace mistakes, I had started this journey of learning that mistakes actually were a good thing sometimes. Like they could create character in a person, in a portrait, sorry. They could make your arts look different to other people's and stand out. And wait, is this how people create their style? How they made their art like so different and unique, and the ones that I sit there and stare at and think, how did you come to that? Through this I learned that mistakes and imperfections weren't something to be afraid of, they were part of the process. And as I said, that's how people come to realise their style and have this individualised, like aesthetically pleasing art, because they have allowed themselves to make mistakes and like really hideous art before they even came to that. They experimented, and like I just thought one day it would come to me and I would like have this art style that I just loved and it was mine. Well, if I'm never allowing myself to experiment and make mistakes, where did I think that was where was that going to come from? Just like one day I'd wake up and miraculously know an individualized like way of drawing. So I just stopped putting so much pressure on myself to create these perfect pieces every single time, and like I was really enjoying the freedom of that, really enjoying it. Like I've just a perfectionist in like every area of my life, and for once I was like letting myself not. Crazy. And after I started my daily sketching practice, where for the most part I was sketching daily, and I still continue that, but you know, life gets in the way, so it's not as frequent as it used to be. I do my best. And this daily challenge that I set myself made me really comfortable with mistakes, because you can't draw daily and not make a single mistake. Like you make a lot of them. And you get really comfortable with it. And every day there's a new one, and you gotta deal with it. Being comfortable with mistakes meant that I was worrying less when I was sketching, and this shift in mindset meant that art was more fun and less stressful overall. Something I learned, and I'm still working on to this day, because let's be real, these lessons, like as a perfectionist or a recovering perfectionist, they're hard to ingrain into your brain, and like you can be told it a million times, but to actually embody it, it's a whole process. So the saying is, comparison is the thief of joy. And I know we've all heard it a million times, but it's one thing to hear it, and it's another thing to actually try and practice it. So I'm trying to stop comparing like my daily sketch to like something I saw online, which is someone's finished piece after they've done a million sketches to perfect how to draw a hand, how to draw a face from like imagination. Like my art's not going to look like that on a daily basis. And I'm trying to remind myself that everyone's artistic journey is different, and everyone is on an artistic journey. So like the person who has like a million followers and is creating this really stylized, amazing art that you wish one day that you will be at that level, they didn't just wake up. Typically, they didn't just wake up and know how to draw like that, know what they wanted, who they are as an artist. Like they went on the process that you're on, but they're just further along it, they're down the line. It's important to remember that you're not competing with other artists, you're learning. And so the only real person, let's be a bit cliche here, the only real person you can compare yourself to is yourself. It's cold in here. Because I've been allowing myself to make mistakes, I've been drawing the things that I struggle to draw, like actually tackling them and learning how to draw them. I've allowed myself to practice and draw the fundamentals, to just experiment, add colour. There's a whole new world. Like I've learned how to paint shadows, whereas before I would use black. I've made so many mistakes and like a bunch of failures. Like there's a lot of my art that I just do not like, but the things that I like, I really like. All of these things that you do when you allow yourself to make mistakes and be imperfect, they add up, and they really do come together to make an all-rounded better artist. Perfectionism would never allow this kind of like development, exploration, and just growth. And as a result, I think my art is better. Like maybe not to like the everyday person, because I used to draw these amazing realism pieces when I did, and now they're like illustrative. I just think it's more individual to me and more personal, and I enjoy that. I really enjoy that. It's like added to my artistic confidence, and now I have evidence and a catalogue of like failures and wins, and so when I go, I'm going to try and draw this thing, it's like, well, I can, and if I can't, I'm going to learn how to. And it's made me so confident with my artistic abilities, and like really comfortable with experimenting, making mistakes, and trying new things. And now I see my sketchbook as a playground, like somewhere to play. Play and have fun. At the end of the day, it's a place to let your ideas and sometimes you just want to do something with art. That's what sketchbook's for, to experiment with those things. This like concept has just been so freeing to learn and to like play around with, and actually realize that I can just go into my sketchbook and draw something and have fun. And it doesn't need, at the end of the day, it can be like the worst drawing I've ever done, and it's fine. And like, that's great, because I drew today. I've got another drink, because you know what, this is thirsty work. So if you're someone who feels stuck in the perfectionist cycle with their art, a bit like I was, here are a few tips from a recovering perfectionist. 1. Start small. Focus on short sketches and doodles. Don't try to make them perfect or elaborate, just have fun with the process. 2. Embrace mistakes. Remember, mistakes are part of the journey. Don't be afraid to mess up. Every failure is a lesson learned. 3. Use your sketchbook to study. Don't fall into the trap of thinking it's for finished pieces. And it's okay if not everything looks good in it. 4. Stop comparing. Your art is uniquely yours. No one else draws like you. That's amazing. Just stop measuring your progress compared to others online. Focus on your growth. 5. Give yourself permission to be imperfect. I'm going to say that again. Give yourself permission to be imperfect. Perfectionism will hold you back more than a mistake ever will. And in the words of James Welsh, progress over perfection because perfection doesn't exist. Let go of the pressure to be perfect and you'll be amazed by how much more fun art can be. I'm snuggling up into bed because it's so cold today. Like, just bring me summer already. I'm a summer baby. I'm not designed for this cold and dreary winter life. It's not for me. I hope my journey has inspired someone to try new things in their art and just stop putting like all this pressure on themselves to have this aesthetically pleasing sketchbook that for some reason social media believes we should all have. Like, sketchbooks are for studying, and I think we need to normalize that. Remember, art is about self-expression and having fun. Yay! Okay, thank God that's over.